All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back in the room. Please take a seat or stand up if you prefer. Let's focus all on what Christian Thiel has to tell us. I find it funny that Holisticon is doing some kind of gamification again, right? We're going to do a pub quiz here, apparently. No drinks yet, right? Would be nice. We're at the Heineken experience after all, but still. Christian, would you kindly give us the quiz you have prepared for us?
Oh yeah, so, hey, thank you for the warm welcome. And I find it also quite funny that last year we also were here from Holisticon at the Axon Conference. And there we presented a talk about Ranked, which was a gaming app for playing table soccer. And this year I'm presenting a talk about a quiz game. So thank you for AxonIQ for always accepting our gaming hobby talks. And yeah, today I'd like to talk about Quizmania. It's an event-sourced quiz game. So a few words for myself. I'm Christian Thiel. I'm a consultant, developer, architect, something in between at Holisticon. I am working in software development now for 14 years, so apparently I have crossed the 11 years mark a lot talked about. And I'm a very big fan of event-driven architectures and process automation because I simply think that the world works event-driven, so why not just build software with it? So I'm at Holisticon. Holisticon is a software consultancy company based in Hamburg, but also with offices in Hanover and Lisbon. And we try to do consultancy not just in software engineering, but more in a holistic approach. So we also try to target strategy, organization, agile, to cover the whole process of developing software. But today, I'd like to talk about my quiz. In the beginning, I will tell you something about why I'm doing this quiz, then introduce the domain, talk a little bit about event modeling. Then I'd like to give you some deep dive into something I call browser-side projections. And of course, when talking about a pub quiz, I also have to do a pub quiz. So at the end of this talk, I will have a live demo of my pub quiz. So in some of my slides, in the lower right corner, you see a QR code. So don't hesitate to scan it, and then just choose a name and enter my pub quiz. And hopefully, in the end, we will not crash the app with so many users. And so let's start. So why did I have the idea of a pub quiz in general? It all started somewhere in 2010. When we were all in college, and a few friends of mine, and we had the idea of a pub tournament. So we called it in German Kneipikaler Fünfkampf. In English, it's somehow translated to pub pentathlon. And so we were 12 friends meeting in a student bar, doing 5 disciplines, like table soccer, you know the pattern. Pool billiards, poker, a quiz game, and the grand finale, a dice rolling game called Ludo. And over the years, we repeated this pub tournament, but we were always a little bit unhappy with how we've done the quiz. So this always changed a little bit. So at some point, we even built a real buzzer table where we had real buzzers to work on. We have drawn a big world map on the floor to play something like GeoGuessr. And in the end, one of us designed a quite sophisticated Excel sheet to count the points of this quiz game. But then I thought, okay, an Excel sheet. I'm a software developer. Usually, I'm there to replace Excel sheets. So it hit me, let's replace this very sophisticated Excel sheet with an even more complicated app. And because I'm a big fan of event-driven architectures, let's build it event-sourced. And, well, I'm here, let's build it with the Axon Framework. So Let's talk a bit about what my game does. So when we were doing this on our tournaments, we always had these. We were 12 people in the same quiz, and when I want to digitalize it, I want that everyone can play with his own device. So every player just have a smartphone in his hand. Maybe we have a quiz master with also a smartphone, a tablet, or something like this to manage, and a big screen for the scoreboard, and that the players itself, they can just read the questions and answer all the questions directly on their smartphone. I also want to have something like automatic scoring for the questions because, well, I have an app, so I have to take care of everything like this on the fly. Also that answers are correct and stuff like this. And also the final ranking, everything should be as automatic as possible to simply outrank this Excel sheet. And also in our game, we had different game modes. So in the beginning, all the 12 people were playing at the same time, but at some point in the end, to make it a little bit more competing, we wanted to have some dual mode, also with a buzzer to press on my smartphone. Nice. And also to make it a little bit interesting, during the quiz, I need to have different question types. So I like to have question types like where I have A, B, C, D options, where to choose from. I like to have estimation questions. I'd like to have questions where I just have a text field and I need to enter something and hopefully it's right. That actually was quite nice to fit into. And also, I'd like to have these buzzer questions where just the fastest participant is able to answer and could get the points. And when then I know what to do, Alad, a few minutes ago, he talked about the behavior of our app. So the next thing I wanted to do is to talk about, or was to think about, how does my app behave? So I'm doing some sort of event modeling. So this you see here are the pre-game preparations of how is the game even created. I have my create game command. In this create game command, the quizmaster can configure some stuff. So what questions have been asked, what time the players have to answer the questions, how many players I do have, and something like this. This all results then in a game created event. And as soon as I have this, I have this quiz game in a list of my open games. So all participants can then see this quiz and can also join the game. After they have joined the game, everyone is in the same game lobby. And at some point, when the quizmaster decides, he then can start the game. So when he has started the game, then we are all together in the same game room. The game room is another screen where then also directly the first question is asked. When I have done that, I have to answer the questions. This can happen of course, multiple times. So that when one player, in some sort of timeline I have configured before, all the participants have the chance to answer the question. And all these answers, then, of course, I have then a question answered event, and all these answers are aggregated in the current game state. And at some point, either when all the participants have answered the question, or the deadline timer I've configured before has hit, the question is closed. Then the answer is revealed, and for some of my question types, the quizmaster then is also able to fix some answers. This was quite nice for these free answer questions when some person had a typo, but he actually got it quite right, so I want to override it. Then in the end, the question is scored, and we see everything on the scoreboard. And this, of course, is then repeated for all the questions I have in my game, and then my game is finished. This results in sort of a domain model where I have a game domain and a question domain. My game domain consists of my game aggregate. The aggregate is the root of my whole game. It consists of a game config I've configured before. The game config always points to a question set. the question set is then the boundary of all the questions I will be asking inside of this game. And it's important to note that the game domain I have designed event sourced, but the question domain so far not. The question domain in the moment is just a big JSON file where the questions are configured. And this also results in that when I have this question ask event, I have to replicate all the data from the config file directly into the event. It's just not just a pointer to some game ID, to some question ID, but also the whole data, so the question phrase, the answer options, even the correct answer at that point. When I'm doing a replay someone later and my JSON configuration changed, I still need to somehow replay all the questions correctly. My game also has a set of players. So far, I just have guest accounts, so I don't need to care about user account management. So they're all just guests with a username. And the game question I've modeled in a separate entity to then handle the answers, buzzers, the correct answers, and all the points. But so far, this all now it's the backend. But I promised you I will also talk about something I call browser-side projection. So what is this and why I have done this? So a quiz game, like I've described before, it's a very interactive thing. So very many events happen, and I need these events to replicate very fast between my mobile devices. So all the players and also the quizmaster and the scoreboard, when I click on something here, everything needs to be replicated quite fast on all the other devices. And also they need to react on these events in the front end. So I thought to myself, when I already need WebSockets, obviously, for this communication, and I need the events in the front end, why not just build this read model I usually create in my backend in a Postgres database or something like this? I skip that, and I just transfer these events directly into the front end, and I build my read model only in the front end and not in the back end. So I have no persistence in the back end, and I also have a quite simple API because I just need to forward my events into the front end, and I don't need to negotiate with with a front end designer over some state API or something like this. So I just give him the domain events, and he has to do whatever he wants to do with these events. So this resulted in I thought of making it something like a box cylinder on a short way, but I skipped. But it's something like this. So I have my backend, I already talked about, with a game domain and a question domain. I have my front end with my UI representation layer, and in between I have a backend for front end. For CQRS applications, it's really nice to have this backend for front end because my read models are already very specific for the use cases. And the use cases my front end has is maybe a different use case than other front ends have. So I like this idea to have a backend very specifically for a very particular front end application. And this backend for front end is very simple. It just has a command forwarder. It's a REST controller forwarding commands issued in the front end into the back end. And it has a WebSocket event forwarder forwarding events from the Axon server, of course, to the front end, where there I will handle these events. And okay, maybe I lied a little bit. This open games list, there I still have the problem. There I still need some sort of persistency because I don't have a game aggregate ID or something like this in my hand I can subscribe to. So there I still need a very small, very particular read model, but still it's very small. When now I have my events, I like to show here the data flow from the back end to the front end. So when an event is created in my game aggregate, of course, it's first published into a front end, into the Axon server. And then in my backend for front end, there's a game event handler which takes this event, gives this event to my event forwarder, and this event forwarder then publishes this event on a game channel on a message broker. This message broker is a SIMP messaging template, and so at some point I need to do some sort of routing. So I can't just forward every event to every WebSocket. This would be quite useless. So what I'm using in my application is a STOMP message broker. STOMP is short for Simple Text Object Message Protocol. It's basically doing what also more or less the hated Kafka does. I have message channels, and I publish a message on a channel, and all the WebSockets subscribe to that particular channel will get these events. Of course, there are Spring Boot extensions for everything, so also for the STOMP message broker. So luckily, I don't really have to take care about a lot of things, just a few small configurations, but the routing itself is completely done by itself. And when then I have my event in the front end, I will evolve my game model. And since my front end always is just subscribed to a very single game, because I always play just one game at the same time, I can then forward or take this event to evolve my game model. I there also decided to use the immutable object pattern, because I don't trust mutability, especially not in browsers and JavaScript. So I always create a new instance of this model. And then the new model and the event is forwarded to my actually UI representation layer, and there I then do whatever I want to do with this. But this all was quite theoretical, so I'd like to show you some code about it. Yeah, first code. So what we see here is these are my events. I have a marker interface for my game events, so all my game events are marked with a single one event. I have events like a game created with my configuration, player joined, player left, some status events. Here, my question asked, where I also pointed out my whole question with all the with the phrase, with the answer options. So everything is part of this event, and a few more for answering, overriding the answer, and so on. And when my aggregate now publishes this some of these events, I'm listening to them in my game event listener. Since all my game events have a marker interface game event, it's very simple to listen to all these events at the same time, because I just need to listen to my game event. And this game event then I can forward to my game event emitter. And this then is doing the magic of forwarding it into the front end. I need to wrap it into some metadata. And then I define my channel. This channel is my game and my game ID. And then it is forwarded to this template. And everything that needs to happen then is done by this template. And yeah, also something I need. So this so far covers the state of I have new events. But what if some person comes into the quiz game not as a first thing, but the quiz was already there for some time, and I need to event source what already happened. So I also need to have some controller to access the event store to get all the events I have that have been there so far. So the history. There I also have the same game event wrapper DTO, and this simply just forwards a list of all events already happened to the front end. So then the front end can iterate over it and rebuild his read model so far it happened, and then can listen to everything that will happen in the future. Now I have to show some front-end code. I hope it's going okay. So the first thing we have to do in the front end is we need to create our client. So we need to create our STOMP client. With this, I need some sort of socket URL. Here I create my client, and so far it is connected. I then subscribe to the same message channel I also have defined in my backend. And when I've done this, I can listen to all the messages or listen to messages. And when I receive these messages, I then can simply handle them. Handling these messages so I talked about that I have a game state and I'm evolving this game state. So this is happening here. I have also some small fallback. I sometimes had problems with duplicate events. I don't really know how, but there's this fallback. Okay, then just ignore them. But here, then I am evolving my current game state with the payload to the next state. I'd like to show this for an instance. And here, it gets a little bit messy because I'm in the front end without any Axon support. So I need to do everything on my own, so from scratch. So it looks a little bit ugly that I have to route all the events based on their type to the respective methods, and then can call a copy constructor and modify my or return a modified state of my read model. And when I have done all this, I call my game event handler. This game event handler is an interface then used in my actual React components. And there I sometimes just need the state, but sometimes I also need the event, and can handle this in whatever direction I like directly in my front end. I also talked about how I bootstrap everything. So when I need to bootstrap my game in the beginning, I receive. Okay, so sorry. I have to call this controller in the backend to receive all my to all the events, have all the events I have produced so far, and then to initialize my game model by just looping over it and then storing the game model. One thing also to note here is since I have my events completely defined in my backend, I also need to have them defined completely also in my front end. So this might be something troublesome because it's simply duplicating all the logic. So maybe it's not completely right when I said you just have a very, very small API, because the domain API is still somewhere in the front end. Yeah. So what have we seen so far? So in my point of view, it has some advantages because when this works, we don't need any persistence layer in the backend for these kind of use cases. It's just a very simple backend for front end. It's a very small API. This one I've programmed in Kotlin and with a Spring framework, but when talking about Axon Synapse, it could be in basically any other language like Go, Python, Node.js, or something else. My read model is created directly where it is used, directly in the front end. I don't need any sort of negotiation between the front end developer and the back end developer. Okay, maybe the domain model, but I hope always that this happens somewhere before at a different level. And it works very well for use cases with only a very single aggregate. So when I have multiple aggregates and I don't have the aggregate ID in my hand, then I'm more or less screwed because I can't subscribe on something particular. Although maybe with Axon Framework 5 we have different options coming, maybe. But so far it's not the case. But for my use case it was very useful. But of course, it also has some kind of disadvantages. I already mentioned that all the events have to be modeled twice, so I need everything in the front end and also in the back end. There are solutions on the way. We, for example, could write some specifications like Apache Avro. and then use some generators, code generators, to generate from the specification something in the front end and the back end at the same time. Yeah, maybe you want to join the lightning talk of my colleague Simon tomorrow there. He is going to talk about that particular topic. We also have no framework support in front-end languages like TypeScript at all in the moment. So you have to do everything there on your own. You have no annotations, no routing, the upcasters, everything is not there. You have to do everything on your own. And for some architectures, it may be troublesome that my domain language leaks into the front end. So some architectures like to treat the front end as some box quite far away, and to know as little as possible of my whole domain. And this could then lead to to not so good design. And also, I have mentioned in the beginning that I have to store my whole question, including the correct answer, inside of the events I'm publishing to the front end. So the correct answer will be there before someone has answered it. Yeah, but I think it's enough talking. I don't know how many already tried to scan this one, but now I'm very curious. I'm really, really very curious if this works. Or simply my phone crashed right now. Or the Wi-Fi is not working. I'm not sure. Okay, then it's not. Then it's just my phone. Okay, almost 70 participants. Okay, I've tried this at home with 15 people, so I'm really excited what happens now. If we crash everything, or if something works really well. And also, just as a teaser, the winner also gets some sort of goodie bag. And yeah, answering fast is better. So when everyone is ready, let's start with the first of 5 Axon-related questions. The first one, probably everyone will hopefully know. So which event processor can process events in the same unit of work as they have been published? Is it a pull streaming, tracking, or a subscribing event processor? You always have something around 25 seconds to answer, but no stress. And a lot of people got it right. I'm proud of you. But let's see if the next questions are also this successful. So when was the first commit to the Axon Framework? Probably after our last talk, maybe a little bit too easy, because he mentioned how old it is. But it was, of course, 2010. But still, I don't know. So 2010, there was a commit import from SVN from Google Docs. So I don't really know when the first commit ever happened, because the Google document was not there anymore. But yeah, let's see. So far, a lot of people are on the correct way. Let's see if it continues with the next one. Who is the inventor of event sourcing? So probably this is a little bit... yeah, I don't know if I now get rants from someone, but was it Greg Young, was it our Allard, was it Martin Fowler or Leslie Lampert? Actually, also quite got it right. It was Greg Young. Martin Fowler just made it popular, but the original papers were from him. So 2 questions to go. Now a rather technical question again. When I'm writing an event handler, you have annotations you can write on the parameters, and one of these, either sequence number, aggregate ID, timestamp, or metadata value, is actually incorrect. You can't use it. But which one is it? Still a lot of correct answers. I'm still proud of you. Okay, now the grand finale. Let's see. The last question. Who did the most commits to the Axon Framework? Was it Allard, was it Steven, or was it the famous Dependabot? And surprisingly, it was not Allard. It also was, thank God, not Dependabot, but it was Steven. Yeah, so we have 4 people with all the questions right, but there can be just one winner. So it's HHH, whatever this stands for. So yeah. So you can get it afterwards. Okay, thank you. So. It worked. There was almost no problems. I heard something that somewhere it didn't work, but but it almost worked perfectly. I'm very proud of my VM. And so as a conclusion, I also have written some blog articles about it. So if you're interested in any more details or more deep dives into this topic, follow me on medium.com. And in any other way, a little bit too fast, but I thank you for the audience. And do you have questions? Or we have an early lunch.
So what was the thing you struggled most with implementing this thing?
TypeScript. So usually I'm a backend developer, so learning this TypeScript thing and React again was a bit challenging, but also I try to call myself now a junior front-end developer. This was quite challenging. The rest was okay-ish.
How did you solve the problem of upcasters in TypeScript?
I haven't so far. But my guess would be to not solve it in TypeScript directly, but to solve it somehow in the back end and hope that the front end always can be deployed in the same time, or even upfront or something like this. So this would be my best solution for it.
Otherwise, I have a question, if that's okay. So you did note the Avro serializer, a bit of a hint what Simon is going to present tomorrow. Why didn't you actually try that out? Because they're quite far ahead already.
Well, at the point of implementing it, they were not. So it was more or less a race who was fastest, and then when they were far enough, I didn't have time to implement it. But actually, this is one of the next things I will try out. So follow me. So this is really the next thing I want to try out, because this was quite annoying. Then always during development, I changed the event here, I changed the event there. I always had to do the very same thing in the front end as well. And when I have missed an event or a field or something like this was really annoying. So I'm really looking forward to trying this out with this Apache Avro.
So Jan and Simon are just not fast enough for you. That's it, right? then I'm assuming that's it. So let's give a last warm applause for Christian.